So guys, if and when you meet me, there's something you need to know. I am not who I appear to be. I am a veterinarian who sent a technician running out the back of our practice crying. That was a bad day for everybody. But it was also a day that changed the entire trajectory of my life and taught me the kind of lessons that you can only learn through experience. And those are lessons that I want to share with you guys today. What's weird is looking back on it, how easy it would have been for everything to have stayed exactly the same. The power of our habits is kind of scary sometimes, and it's very tempting to blame the situation when things go wrong and to not take the time to reflect on our own behavior. And what was even more shocking was how eager my family, friends, and coworkers were to collude with me in that kind of self-delusion. Real excuses that I heard included, well, she was pushing the propofol too fast. The patient was gonna die. And if you hadn't started screaming, what would have happened? Or, she was really struggling with some emotional and behavioral and relationship issues at home and really was just too sensitive. And that's on her and not on you. Or my favorite, this is a systemic problem. If you had been a male veterinarian, and they would have just seen you as being firm with her, and none of this would have even been a problem. But fortunately that day, I was able to see that my behavior had been hurtful. And that it wasn't the first time either that my words had really wounded people. It was becoming very clear that this wasn't just something that I occasionally did. It was a tendency that was part of who I was. So that was terrifying. We all want to be the hero of our own story. And suddenly I was realizing that I was the bad guy instead. I was terrified that someone was going to find out. A lot of times the perspective in our profession is that toxic people, we got to get them out of our profession as soon as possible. Jerks are jerks. You shouldn't expect to change them. You can't teach people skills. So I thought if I got found out, my career in veterinary medicine would be over. So I tried as hard as I could to channel the most likable people that I knew. The problem was that it didn't work. And the more I tried to be somebody else, the more stressed and irritable I became. Until it finally came to a head in an intervention-style meeting with my practice manager and coworkers, where they told me in no uncertain terms that I was being a total bitch. And they were right. They were totally right. And thinking this was the end, this is the moment where my career is over, and I had nothing left to lose, it all came spilling out. All of my fears, all of my worries, all of my insecurities. And something amazing happened. Instead of getting fired, they forgave me. And then something even more amazing happened. When I admitted that I was terrified, that I was going to be stuck with this forever, that I had been struggling with this problem since I was 12 years old, and that I had tried and that I had gotten better, but that I still was struggling with sometimes saying these hurtful words when I didn't mean to, they became more patient with me. They decided that when I said, this isn't something that you guys should have to deal with, that gave them the room to choose to be patient with me. And when they became more patient with me, that allowed me to be more patient with myself. Instead of trying to be somebody else, I realized that I had kind of been trying to be a golden retriever, and I am not a golden retriever. I'm a Jack Russell. And I'm never gonna become a golden retriever, but you know what? I can get better trained, and I can take that training and I can use that training to take my energy and do really, really amazing tricks instead of barking so incessantly that the neighbors want to evict me. So I started with very small wins and focused on things as simple as waiting until I was calmer to talk with my team about the charges that had been missed on the appointment earlier in the day. I actually reached out to my team to help me recognize when I was getting frustrated, recognize those triggers for myself. And they asked me for permission to tell me when I was starting down the road to crazy town. And it was awesome. We started recognizing and stopping cycles of misunderstanding, and we realized not only what made me frustrated, but what made them frustrated. And we started changing systems in our hospital that were broken. We made them more foolproof, so we stopped making as many mistakes. It was fantastic, and the whole mood in our practice started to change. We were laughing more, we were celebrating each other more, we were sharing ideas, and where I had been feeling so broken and alone, so fundamentally flawed, I suddenly realized I had this unique experience that I could use and share to help other people. So like any crazy type A person, I started looking into peer-reviewed research. And what I found was really astounding, that, I wasn't the only one, and that in fact, this is a problem that we see in many, many service and helping professions, in human medicine, in churches, that when we get in high positions of stress and when we don't feel safe calling each other out on our bad behavior, it escalates, it cycles, and it gets much worse. And there are huge consequences. When our clients see that kind of bad behavior, they're about 65% less likely to come back to our businesses. We find it about 27% of people in human medicine, nurses and doctors, feel like this kind of behavior increases patient mortality. We find that, we're contributing to depression and burnout. Nurses in human medicine are more likely to leave the profession in these kind of situations. We don't want that in a profession that's losing veterinary technicians at an alarming rate. And I also learned that stereotype about jerks always being jerks and toxic people not being fixable was actually incorrect. That when we reach out to those people, about 30% of them with a specific structured program can significantly change. So I started thejerkresearcher.com, and now I'm able to speak and write nationally, helping people all over the country with this issue. The moment where I felt the most broken, the most wrong, ended up being the moment where I found my calling. When we're leaders, we do want to be an example to all of our people. But don't make the mistake that I made and think that that means being perfect. We're here because we know that the future is uncharted. It's unknown. So be the example that your team really needs and show them how to receive feedback, to learn, to grow, and ultimately to change.